bonus podcast.
You need 8 statues of you to trade for a cow?
Bonus podcast.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bonus podcast.
Bonus podcast.
Sorry, I'm reading copyright law. And now it's not funny anymore.
Yep. No, I stopped. I gave up.
Al is having a crisis of confidence because people didn't find his talk about orchestral accompaniments in movies inspiring.
No, but
funny.
we really wanted to have that copyright discussion on the bonus podcast. Man, really good thing we didn't put that in there. So I'm sorry we weren't recording earlier for the in-depth discussion of copyright and fair use.
Yeah, it was interesting.
To clarify, we're talking about the use of a Samsung 7 phone in GTA that has been converted into a grenade by the modding community.
I say that falls clearly under the sort of the realm of fair use. It's obviously parodying an actual real-life problem, and regardless of whether it's using their trademark or not, it's not like they've just we're just going to use the Samsung. It's like, we're going to use the Samsung and show the problem that they're actually having and make fun of it in a similar manner to if you had a McDonald's coffee cup in a video just burn somebody's legs off in a humorous manner, one of those funny leg burning off scenes to parody the fact that
now that's
they had
funny, Al.
boiling hot coffee, but exploding. I think that both of those would be defendable under fair use.
Section 107 of the Copyright Act delineates a non-exclusive list of 4 factors to assist courts in determining whether a given use of a copyrighted work is fair. The factors include 1, the purpose and character of the use, including whether such use is of a commercial nature or is for non-profit educational purposes. 2, the nature of the copyrighted work. I don't think that applies here. 3, the amount and substantiality of the portion used in relation to the copyrighted work. It was an exact copy of a Samsung phone.
Yeah, it was like the actual render of the Note 7.
But, okay, here's a question. We might be having a difference here because we're talking about, and by the way, I want to stress the fact that I did mention maybe we shouldn't talk about the amazing copyright things.
If we were arguing with you about score, that would have been much more interesting. Because I like the sound of my own voice.
We're talking
whereas I was just listening to you discussing scores. We're talking about the dirt block.
Yeah, and
Did you mention
that was some magical hoodoo on your part because both of us don't remember that conversation. The people who talked about that said that they were lulled into it and they don't know why, and they were just they were there and it happened. But there was something hypnotic and weird about that.
My mojo is gone.
No, your mojo was amped up too much, and actually you Svengali'd Tony and I.
Yeah.
You know how hard it is to shut up Tony and I? I mean, it's a little easier than shutting you up, but you did it for 5 minutes discussing score. Very difficult. It was also a very rough night on the dirt block, and we were fighting a lot of things.
Yes, which is one of the reasons that I didn't get flagged in my mind to maybe this isn't so good, maybe I should cut it, because I had stuff to cut to that was exciting, even though maybe I was I don't know that I'm being the most interesting here, but I feel like this is still good content.
Al, it was 40 seconds out of 63 hour-long episodes of content. We're kind of just busting your chops. I put me singing Take On Me at the end of all the Dwarf Fortresses now. I don't think it's a very good rendition of Take On Me. Nor do I think it's really that funny. Well, actually, I think it's pretty funny. But it's sort of, yeah. Whatever. You're freaking out.
So to dig deeper into our wonderful discussion that we were having about copyright, I don't know how trademark falls under that. Because the real issue here isn't that they made it look like the phone. The real issue is that they used the Samsung name with the Samsung font. Does trademark get the kind of exemption from fair use that copyrighted a book or something would?
What's the difference between trademark and copyright?
Trademark is a logo. You trademark a logo. You don't have a copyright on a logo. It is the sort of the logo that you do business under. It can be your name. You can have a trademark on just the name Samsung, and also the way that all that stuff is written. All of that falls under trademark. That's not the same as if they had a video advertising the Samsung phone and then you added in explosions to their video, that would be a little bit more clearly fair use, although you'd still, if the Samsung logo popped up, would that count if they
All right, ready?
dinged you for that.
I moved on to the trademark part of the document.
Go.
Trademark law seeks to prevent confusion among consumers as to the origin, sponsorship, and approval of goods or services. That clearly made it look like, oh, Samsung's okay with this.
I don't think that was clear. I wouldn't have watched that video and be like, well, yeah, this is a fun little joke Samsung put out about their phones exploding. This is all fine.
However, the full use of their phone and all of their stuff makes it seem like they're okay with it, unless they contest it, which they sort of have to do. Otherwise, they're basically tacitly saying, yeah, that's okay.
I guess I can definitely understand why they protested.
Yes.
And said to YouTube, hey, why can we, this is our trademark, take it down. Because they have to do that. However, I don't buy that legally the people who made that video were in the wrong. It's just that you're on YouTube's lawn and YouTube can kick you off their lawn if they want to because Samsung has more money.
Yeah, and Samsung definitely heavily advertises on YouTube. I've seen dozens of commercials for their phones on there.
And let it be known, I kind of still, even today, would like to own a Galaxy Note 7. If y'all like have some that you just got laying around and you don't feel like turning in, but you don't want to have anymore,
don't have them laying around.
Yeah,
don't not store them on oily rags in your garage. Do not put them next to paint cans.
And remember, always use your non-dominant hand when using the phone, just in case it blows up. Then you can still write.
Why do you want one so badly, Al?
They're just cool. They're cool phones.
What do you have now?
I currently have a Samsung Galaxy S6 Active.
And that's your second S6 because you thought the other one was fully waterproof, correct?
Oh, right.
Well, I've had this is my S6. I've had the Samsung Galaxy S for like 3 or 4 phones, and it's definitely not, I still take it in the shower, but don't take your S6 underwater, guys.
What do you do with your phone in the shower?
I listen to podcasts. Practically nonstop. I'm almost a compulsive podcast listener at this point. If I don't have some kind of media playing around me, if I'm not doing work, it's like I walked from one end of the house to the other, and before I left on that journey last night, my wife was like, can you go and like transfer the clothes from the washer into the dryer? I forgot to do that. I was like, yes, honey, I will. And I was like, I'm gonna need some tunes. I'm gonna need something to listen to on the way over there. I don't live in a large house. I want people to understand it wasn't like a 5-minute walk.
We're heading to the East Wing. Past the second ballroom.
Gotta put on my bathrobe so I have a pocket. Put my phone in.
That was my other question. Where does the phone go in the shower? Do you hold it in your hand?
I have a shower rack.
Of course. My nieces
have
these cool
like
things.
It goes where all of your shampoos and everything go. Do you just like have all that stuff laying on the floor of yours?
I have sort of like a bathtub rim.
Yeah, I've got like a lip on the edge of the tub that holds the single bar of soap that I need because I don't have hair product anymore.
I mean, I don't have hair product anymore either, but I live with other people, so
yes. But I'm assuming you have like a shower door type situation.
It's just a curtain.
But you don't have tub. You don't have lip. Yeah. That happens. I'm in the other. Yes.
I don't want to deal with. So there's the back 2 corners of the tub, right?
Right.
That have enough lip to put a bottle on. So one of those has like some bubble bath, and then the other one has something else on it. But if you have stuff on the outside corner of the tub, then every time you step in, you're not only stepping over the tub lip, you're stepping over like all of those bottles and potentially kicking them into the tub or kicking them out of the tub. And like, who wants to deal with that?
Oh, that's why you put it in the back corner towards the wall.
There's only so much space on that corner. I just got through enumerating that. Were you listening to podcasts while I was talking? I know it was boring, and I'm sorry.
Well, I have pure wall around 3 walls of my tub, so I don't have that problem. Unless I took a really strange route into my shower, where I ran up the wall and was like dangling.
Do you have a tub
club.
or a shower? Do you have one like a shower tub?
I have a shower tub.
Okay,
I have a bathtub.
Would love to have a clawfoot one of these days. It's like a tub you can actually sort of really get into and lay down in, but
yeah, it's tough.
See, if I ever build a house, I'm not even going to have a tub. I just want showers because they drain better and they're easier to keep clean.
They are easier to keep clean. Draining
in tubs, it's always like, oh, look, the dead skin's just going to cling to the wall, and you have to get like caustic chemicals and like steel wool to grind it out.
That's the cleaning part. That's a little bit of an exaggeration.
I was gonna say, maybe if you didn't let it sit for so long, it wouldn't be so nasty.
Well, I had to clear out clogs that were deep seated into the plumbing system of my house. So there was a point where just raw sewage was coming up, for a good long while. So I don't trust the tub in my place.
That's fair enough. I
have not had that experience, and I've lived in several houses with tubs.
That's called a bonus bath.
See, this is why
what's happening again.
It's the perspective I see where it's oh, it's butt soup. Yeah, I'm not sitting in that. It's I don't care if I've Cloroxed it. It's probably still there in my head.
Oh, it's just so relaxing. I don't do it to get clean. In fact, I usually after I have a bath, I stand up and turn on the shower and rinse off. But I do like baths.
That's a good idea.
So is occasionally washing your wash rag.
Yes. Well, I use a loofah.
No, I bought a new one.
Puffball thing.
I just use a bar of soap because I'm a savage, apparently.
I used to do that, and then I don't know. At one point, I was I don't know if my shins are getting clean, or and then I went to the bath.
You could look at them. You could be like, are those some clean shins or not? Hold them up to somebody else's nose. Do my shins stink? Have I been getting a good enough job cleaning my shins? And then they'll tell you yes or no.
I don't know who raised you, but in my upbringing, one did not simply wave your shins in front of someone's nose, Albert.
That's one of the benefits of being married.
My shin.
It's all Victorian style at the Devon household. He's got covers for his table legs and everything.
Yes. If you're showing ankle after Labor Day, it's pretty touchy. I think I actually used someone's bath stuff that wasn't bar soap, and I was like, this is freaking fantastic, and then never went back. You get so much more lather, and I don't know, it's just clearly a better method of cleaning.
I just don't like going, you can get a whole 6-pack or 8-pack of soap, and then you're set for 3 years. I swear, you can go back. No, okay, there is a podcast. I think it was.
Of course there is.
When did we talk about this on the podcast, Tony? Somebody remembers this. We discussed me buying soap on the podcast. Remember, I was I went to the store and I was looking for the manly stuff. I didn't want any scents in it or anything. Remember that?
Yeah,
I do actually.
Yeah, I don't know which episode that was, but I'm still on that pack of soap. It's 100 episodes ago.
See, I run through soap so quickly. I wonder,
no.
I buy a 12-pack of this Old Spice Swagger stuff that smells pretty good, and I just run through a bar every 10 days or so.
Yeah,
that's because you're not using a washcloth.
That's true. You're just sitting there basically rinsing soap off of your soap.
Yeah,
the entire time you're bathing.
But the washcloth thing, I'd only be able to use that once before I'd have to put it through the laundry.
That's it does have to be washed now and then.
No, it doesn't. That's a lie.
It's self-cleaning. You put soap on it.
Wrong.
I also have to point out, just to circle back real quick, one of the factors in trademark law that they consider is the sophistication of buyers, which is an argument or a case where that comes up. I would love to see people just being I don't know.
Court buyers are real dumb, Judge.
Yeah, basically. These people are fucking morons. Of course they're not going to be able to tell the difference between but we value you highly, but to protect our trademark, you're just cheap and terrible.
Well, I think I can see that. If you have a product like toilet paper, right? Everybody needs toilet paper. All people everywhere need to buy toilet paper, unless you have a bidet.
Or you get a good old Sears Roebuck catalog and throw it in your outhouse.
Right, so you're going to have some real, just on the law of averages, there will be some dumb people buying toilet paper. And I think if I was a toilet paper person, I was like, listen, it's not cool that you named your toilet paper Charmin. Or Charming. Yeah.
My butthole is on fire because of this. I don't like him a southern accent.
This Charming Ultra. What is this Charming Ultra? I saw it on the TV, the Charming Ultra. Yeah.
I'm just imagining lawyers going around talking to people you'd see on one of those late night shows like Jay Leno used to do, where we'd get the absolute stupidest responses for a bit.
Yep.
Just get all those people into court to talk about Samsung.
Yeah, I want to see this presented in court, though, which I think would make me wildly happy.
What's the other end of that? What is the industry where you could absolutely make an almost identical thing, and they're like, okay, your users are so smart.
Like,
you can't argue this.
High-end cars. Like, if I was like, yeah, that's a Rolls.
It's a Moorbach.
The 6 people in the world who own a Rolls Royce are gonna be like, no, it's not. I'm like, no, it is. Really.
Rolls Joyce.
Maybe the people that like buy parts for NASA, like from the machine, like the machinists.
Because that's a strong trademark battleground. It's like, yes, I'm from Alcor. No, I mean Altor Steel. Here are the aluminum like fins for your jet engine that you ordered. But I've got them cheaper over here in my trunk. NASA, would you like to buy these?
This is the Asylum's new business model.
That's actually, I wonder how many times they've wound up. I bet they know this document back and forth.
I think they just fold every time if they get like a lawsuit, they're like, okay, yeah, we'll change it. Cool.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Because what was the big one they had? Independence Day?
Yeah, that one didn't. That one's. I've got the DVD of that. I've got that one on my desk right currently now. I can see it from here. I watched
with the old title.
They
had to change the title, right?
No, they didn't.
Oh, really?
The Pacific Rim one had to change. It was Atlantic Rim. Yeah. What did it get changed to?
Attack from Beneath.
Oh, okay, that's the one then. I knew there was a couple that you had watched and/or done and/or discussed that were clearly way too close, and they got called on, and they were like, "All right, we'll just as long as we got a trailer out there with that on there, that's fine."
I think I'm wondering. There was one that was fairly significant that I've read about where they got dinged for The Day the Earth Stopped, when The Day the Earth Stood Still came out. But I can't remember if like they actually stood their ground on that one and the judge sided in their favor or not. Because I've seen that one.
Was that one where like the Earth literally stopped?
No, it was the same. It was just alien invasion movie.
Because I was going to say that would be kind of an interesting story. Listen to Neil deGrasse Tyson talk about what would happen if the world literally stopped. That everything would roll due east at like 600 miles an hour.
Oh, it stopped full. Yeah,
just slow down stop. First.
Man, that could be like we would probably get into flight.
Yeah, everything would just die.
Yeah,
like the oceans would slosh up onto all of the land. And people would fly sideways, and all the buildings would collapse. It'd be like
Dwarf Fortress. We'd go skidding along on our necks.
They said that the wave would stop at the Rocky Mountains from the Atlantic.
Oh, well, that's good. But you're on the wrong side.
Yeah, I would be like right where it washes up. I would be screwed.
Well, you would go flying.
Yeah, that's true. I might be like on the other side of the Rockies by the time the water gets here.
I mean, you wouldn't be alive.
Well, maybe I'll just be one of the lucky ones that doesn't get torn apart immediately.
Well, I'd have the Upper East Side flying
I'll be like on a trampoline.
Try to time it right, Timmy. 3, 2, 1, jump.
It's like what you thought as a kid when you're in an elevator. If this thing crashes, I'll just jump at the bottom.
Do you remember that day? It was maybe middle school for me, so you were pretty young.
The day that it stood still?
There's supposedly a day where China had organized every one of their citizens to jump at the same time. And then this was before much of the media. This
sounds like something somebody told you, like one of your classmates.
I'm not, again, it was a middle school thing. I'm not saying like the president was on this TV, like, ladies and gentlemen of the United States.
I want to see that.
And this was, we only had TV. This is way before a lot of media, so that, a lot of these things just would go around the,
You didn't have a cell phone to look it up with in middle school?
I put everyone in China, and one of the first things that popped up is jumped at the same time.
Yeah, I think it's also just like a popular thought experiment, but it got spread around that it was actually going to happen, and we were all supposed to jump at the same time to counteract it.
I wonder if you had over 1 billion people jump at the same time, if it would register on the Richter scale.
Yeah, there's a lot of... Well, what does the first links have to say on that?
These are on like the Naked Scientists and various other things, so I think it's just a thought experiment more than anything else.
Oh yeah, what do they have to say? Clearly, it hasn't happened. Well, maybe it has, and nothing happened. I'm curious to know what the scientists figure the massive... How many... Whatever.
They're saying it would be like 60 billion kilograms landing at the same time, and it probably wouldn't deviate that much, just because
but don't they have to lift off too? What?
Sorry, go ahead.
Don't the forces balance out? Like their jumping kicks the Earth down, and then landing
pushes it down again.
Oh God, no!
Boom!
It's a double whammy.
Saying there's a whole equal out of forces that happens.
I have 2 things to say about this. First of all, the Richter scale the scale itself can handle forces of like the tiniest magnitude. Like there is a Richter number for a feather falling 2 inches and landing on the floor. It just depends on how sensitive your measurement equipment is.
Fair enough.
But theoretically, you can jump and like especially if you're like in the same building as the measurement device, you probably would have some impact. Secondly, have you guys read the XKCD What If about this thought experiment about people jumping?
No.
He goes he has this great bit where he like says, okay, well, we're gonna get everybody and we're gonna put them in, I think, Vermont, in some state sort of on the eastern seaboard of the United States, and he says like we can fit all of the population of the Earth standing up, shoulder to shoulder, like they'll all fit in this landmass. Because now nothing happens because that's like they're just we don't weigh that much collectively compared to the Earth.
Sure,
however,
Vermont.
Says, however, the interesting part of this is now that you have everybody together in one spot and they've done their jump, what happens next? And he like chronicles out like the starvation and the like problems with transportation and all of the things that would completely break down because everybody in the Earth is right next to each other and there's like you run out of gas and you run out of infrastructure and everything. It's a great read.
Yeah, if they all teleported there at once and didn't have plans to get home, because no one's who's gonna port in more gas?
Even if you had what plans would you make to get home?
If you bring
I guess if you set it up a long time ahead of time and you had a bunch of military, but they're talking about 6-7 billion people now.
Yeah. Imagine how many people would get sick from that. Just like a new plague would start.
It's like the worst concert event ever.
All right. I've got somebody who actually did the math on this a little bit. It's from an article from The Straight Dope.
Was he here? Is he going to be on the podcast?
The Straight Dope is awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, totally amazing. Let's welcome
Cecil Adams.
Straight Dope is awesome, by the way. Shout out to the Straight Dope.
Yeah, this is actually a pretty good article. It's like, believe it or not, I'm going to answer this ridiculous question. But first, we need to have a word. As you can imagine, I possess phenomenal scholarly resources.
You know what? Before we go any further, I feel like this guy's being very dismissive.
That's the Straight
Even just in his intro, he's like, it's ridiculous. I want to start off. We'll let you know something. Like, dude, I don't trust you to give me the truth about this. You're clearly one of these all-people jump deniers.
Yeah, well, listen to this next paragraph and see what this does for you. As you can imagine, I possess phenomenal scholarly resources. I've converted the spare bedroom in my house into a research library containing 16 million volumes, which are dusted twice a day by a team of robed acolytes holding candles. I have instant access via my Apple 380S GT to all the world's data banks. While here on my writing table next to a box of square quills, I have a dog-eared copy of 16,000 unbelievably complicated physics experiments for the home and garden, with answers, which has helped me out of my jam. But basically, he eventually gets to having performed feats of mathematics requiring the entire afternoon. Sometimes I can't believe the crap I spend my time on. I calculated that the resultant thud in aggregate would be the equivalent of 500 tons of TNT. Not bad, but nowhere near enough to dislocate the Earth, which weighs 6 sextillion, 588 quintillion short tons. Which would happen? What would happen if all the Chinese yelled at the top of their lungs? I refuse to even discuss.
Was that another part of this question that I've never heard?
Yeah, it was part of the...
So he's not doing all the people in the world, it's just the Chinese?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that's the original.
1.027 billion.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
As of
that's only because we jumped on the other side over here.
Yeah,
when Joe
we
was
countered
kid.
it.
Yeah.
Joe saved it.
We saved the world again.
No, I didn't do it. One of my friends in physics class, I think. Maybe we were doing the thought experiment in physics, and he was like, remember that day we were supposed to all jump? Did you guys jump? It's like, I didn't hear about that.
Also, this had slightly different parameters. They had to be standing on a chair and jump.
Right, because if you just jumped, the forces would even out, and you would stop and then start the Earth.
The forces even out if you climb up onto the chair, Joe.
If you do it slowly enough. Well, no, you're right.
They'll have to creep up like...
No, it still doesn't matter. The force is force. However, no, because you're storing kinetic energy if you climb up on top of something.
Yeah, you're storing it by pushing yourself up.
What?
And then you're releasing it. You're storing it. You don't get any energy from that.
But how many joules of storage are in there?
You don't get any energy, but you release it different. You don't get any energy when you do anything, but you can still create different ways of exploding energy so that you have guns.
So you're saying we have like a bow and arrow situation here, where like you couldn't throw an arrow as far as a bow can, but you can exert enough energy into the bow to release
yeah,
the
that's
arrow
the basis
very far.
of all machinery. Yes, the forces equal out, but if you're just like, yeah, I don't know. It's complicated and it hurts my head. I do want to point out that Tommy Hilfiger suing Nature Labs, it actually, this is the sophistication one. They decided that using Tommy Hilfiger's mark on pet cologne was not an infringement because there was no likelihood of confusion.
But they
Like,
used the actual trademark?
concept
Apparently.
of pet cologne is actually pretty confusing to me.
Yes, but they figured that
Pets, okay, let me break it down for you. Pets smell bad.
Sometimes you should give them a bath.
Well, people don't have a lot of time.
Although my basset hound smells bad all the time. Like
Yeah.
we actually got a small rake to pet him because if you pet him while he's drooling, like the drool
What?
will literally cling to you even after you wash your hands 2 or 3 times. You still smell like wet Fritos.
Oh.
So we have a rake for him.
Fritos.
He likes it a lot. He'll actually bring you the rake.
No. Okay, see, the benefit of petting the dog is not for the dog.
Yeah, it is. This is partly for the dog.
I mean, partly. It's like a sex situation. You want to get something out of it too. Like, it's cool if the other person gets something out of it. Like, that's really good. You really want, like, it's not. You don't want to be just one-sided. But on the other hand, like, you're not just. It's not just for the dog. I feel like there should be a shared enjoyment there. You don't get like any skin-to-skin contact with a rake. Your dog is disgusting. He's defective. You need to take him to Tommy Hilfiger.
you can pet
museum.
him. You just don't pet him around the mouth. Like you can scratch his shoulders and chill with him and everything. Just don't let that drool touch you. He is defective though.
I mean, he's a dog. He's a slobbery dog.
Have you given him those like great dent bone, the things that he can chew on to make his teeth better?
Yeah, but that doesn't stop the drool.
Yeah, it's not a teeth problem.
Like he's just got a weird
doesn't
drool
drop
problem. Like
teeth
whenever
on you.
you go to like refill his water bowl, the bottom of the water bowl is like a
Oh,
quarter
no.
inch of slime.
Oh no! Why did you say that out loud?
Like whenever you dump it into the sink, it's like just
No, we
dripping
get
out
the
like
picture.
alien.
I've seen soap. I know what high viscosity is about. I know all that stuff.
I mean, seriously,
Let's
like
open up the
you
documents
could
of
bottle
topics.
this for movie props.
Okay, here's the question. I want everybody to write down a bid of how much you would have to be paid to drink that.
No!
That's like oaf juice level gross.
Well, then, I mean, you can make your number very high then.
I think it would be a minimum of 10 grand for me.
Well, we're not. Okay, so you already beat me. was gonna go
$1.6
higher.
billion.
Okay. Well, I don't think I'm as high as Joe on the money scale, but not Tony wins.
And
Tony has to drink the
And if you
dog's
throw
rubber.
up, do you have to restart? Like get a new bottle or?
No, you just have to drink the puke too. I mean, you're
Ugh.
you're already getting paid $10,000.
You guys can raise $10,000. Tony will make a
Bottle
video of him drinking
Max
Basset
disgusting
Hound's
slime and drink
Weird
it.
alien. Someone open up the
Is this an
document of
extra life
topics.
goal?
Someone open up the document of topics. Yeah, why don't we raise it for charity?
We haven't even opened the document yet. We're like 20-some
I have the
minutes in.
document open.
Oh, I mean, we haven't
Please.
used anything off of it yet.
I know. I was glad. I felt like I leaned on it too heavily last episode. Another thing that was in my head after I had my like sort of I'm not very. I've failed everybody. I've also sort of had a little bit of doubt about the last bonus podcast, and now I'm afraid to talk about Frasier.
I think we need to send Al to a sports psychologist. He's in his head.
Yeah, he's definitely up in his own headspace. I mean, I'm up in my own headspace. That's because I couldn't get Amazon to do what I wanted to this morning, or Premiere to do what I wanted to yesterday. So I've just been running into all
Or
kinds of
After
things.
Effects to do anything ever.
Yes. Well, yeah. Sorry. Yes. After Effects, not Premiere. It was just a mess. Good God Almighty! Like never mind. I am very thrilled with my signage for the build tonight. So I'm pretty happy about that. Frasier, we were discussing, right?
Yes, that's what we were discussing this whole time, Joe. Where have you been?
You know what would make you really
Did
sad,
you tune
Joe?
out again?
Is
I
that
spent 30 minutes talking about Frasier, and none of you said a word. And
Where
what
am
did
I?
happen?
What day is it?
Joe, you know it's going to make you pretty sad
What?
that if I upload the new Minecraft world, it's going to wipe out your new spot,
My new spot?
like your new
Yeah,
signage
because-
and all the work you did there.
Yeah, I was thinking about that actually. I thought you had uploaded it already.
No, I hadn't. because it wasn't letting me. It was being weird. So
I do love that episode of Frasier though. When that happened.
This is a discussion not for the bonus podcast. I think we need Richie here too to figure that out.
I haven't watched Frasier, by the way. I don't know anything about it. It's about a psychologist, right? Or psychiatrist?
It's about the
psychiatrist radio show.
From the guy from Cheers. He's actually won an Emmy.
Oh, Cheers.
Yeah.
From saying that.
Cheers was like 10 years before my time.
That wasn't the point. I was saying.
Is that where you go when everybody knows your name?
Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name.
Have you ever walked into a bar and seen somebody that was that well known? Like, I had a neighbor, and I went to his bar, and, like, everybody just, like, all of a sudden raised their glasses as soon as he walked into the room.
Was his name Norm?
No, it was Randy.
Well, that's not nearly as fun. I've seen people where the bartender and a couple... Yeah, I've seen that here and there.
How is Randy less fun than Norm?
Norm is the character on the show that everyone would say his name when he walked into the bar.
I know, but Randy means horny.
Yeah, but that's not...
That's funny.
Listen, mister, I don't know what's funny anymore.
Oh no, you're right. I'm sorry.
Also, I brought up Cheers because I found it interesting that Kelsey Grammer has won an Emmy for playing the same character on 3 different shows, which is pretty remarkable. I think it's a record of some sort. Cheers, Frasier, and then I think he was on...
So Frasier was a spin-off of Cheers?
Frasier was a spin-off of Cheers.
What other show did he do with that? I did not know that.
Jesus. Okay.
I always thought Cheers was like some 60s television show. I didn't even know Kelsey Grammer was in it.
This is hurting me.
There was a lot of those like that. Like, what is the...
I know where you're
Happy
going,
Days
but
got
that's a
spun off
completely
into
different
Mork and
era
Mindy,
of base.
right?
Okay, I didn't hear that, but I think I know what you're going to say. Go on.
I said Happy Days got spun off into Mork and Mindy?
Yes, but that's a very different era of television. But yes, Happy Days spun off Mork and Mindy, Laverne and Shirley, Chachi Loves Joni, maybe like 2 other ones. It's a pretty popular show. Cheers just spun off Frasier. They obviously everyone, and Cheers was also into my, era, whereas those other shows weren't. I never watched Mork and Mindy as a kid. That ended in the 70s. Cheers was on into the 90s, maybe late 80s, and then went into Frasier. Obviously, they wanted... Cheers was the most popular show of its time. Everyone was offered a spin-off, but the only person who accepted it was Frasier. Kelsey Grammer.
Interestingly, Mork and Mindy was from 78 to 82. Cheers, 82 to 93.
Early 90s.
They're like, one era ends and another begins.
Yes, Cheers debuted 77th out of 77 shows in its first season. And it went on to become the most popular show of its time. We're not talking about Cheers. However, yes, Kelsey Grammer's character, Frasier, moved to Seattle at the end. Some things were tweaked. He actually, I guess...
At the end, meaning like in 93, like when the show went off the air?
Yes. He went off to Chicago. What's interesting, though, is, we're going to talk about Cheers, too. He actually mentioned that his dad was dead a couple times in Cheers, and that he was an only child. And then they just sort of glossed over that. And he has a dad and a brother in Frasier.
They glossed over it. You could totally make it into a plot point of like, so I'm just like, I'm really ashamed of my family. I told all my friends back in that bar that I was always in that you were dead. Yep. Okay?
When Sam Malone, Ted Danson, did a cameo on Frasier, and met Frasier's dad, he was like, what? You told me he was dead. And then they did pretty much that. He was like, I was in Boston. I was trying to make new friends. And you're like, I forget what it was exactly, but they pretty much did that.
Oh, okay. You said they glossed over it. That's not a glossing over it. That's absolutely just saying like...
The brother, I forget how they handled. Also, they definitely glossed over is the dad appears in maybe 2 Cheers episodes as another character, which is just
the
never
actor.
addressed. Yeah.
No, it's just a doppelganger.
Yes, it's a very, 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 very close lookalike. But yeah, my point about putting Frasier on it, I think Tony and I have discussed this a number of times. It's a really good show. It's such a smart show, and every time I end up watching it, I'm like, damn, this is good. But I haven't watched it in ages, and it tends to get sort of sidelined for some reason.
It's because it's old. Like, I believe you that it's a good show, but there's a part of me that's like, I want to watch stuff that's sort of being talked about now.
Yeah.
It's like going back and watching Seinfeld.
I realize, yes, that is an anomaly, but I just kind of found that one on my own. But like, I was saying that there are a few shows that I watched that have clearly come and gone in their zeitgeist.
I
said the name of it already, but I guess you didn't hear.
Thankfully. Okay, go on.
But I do like there's There's so much stuff coming out right now.
Yeah.
I didn't say everyone has to go watch this or else I'm going to die.
I just also, as time passes, more and more, I'm like, that damn Frasier show was really smart. Seinfeld, I would chuckle at, but I think it's also partly because, living through it, and they're the in-jokes of me and my friends and stuff. The highlights of Seinfeld I still think are good, but Seinfeld was really slow in the early parts.
Frasier I have a hard time watching the early Seinfeld just because of the weird fashion of the early 90s.
Yep. It just
looks so bad.
Yeah.
Have they managed to get that out in some kind of HD format? Like, did they shoot on film? Were they able to like?
No, I don't think so. And there was some copyright weirdness going on too, with Seinfeld coming out. I guess they wanted to sort of draw it out to get more money. I don't know if they've done HD.
I remember, I think this is actually Rooster Teeth, Bernie Burns talking about on their podcast that he was remembering that Jerry Seinfeld went on David Letterman or one of those big late night shows, had a big appearance just to announce that the reruns were moving to a different time, because that's how big Seinfeld reruns were. Huge. Yeah.
I mean, they were on 3 times a day.
It makes me wonder if that still stands up, because there are some shows, I won't say the name, but the show that I like to watch, they managed to pull an HD off of the original negative and make it 16:9. Where it was originally the early episodes were transmitted in 4:3.
Oh,
I cannot transmit all the laughter.
Now. He's finding a way to incognito talk about it.
Well, he's not. It's fine. I'm allowing this. He has not mentioned. I guess he already mentioned the title. Go on.
I'm just saying, I know that they had to shoot everything on film for TV back then, unless they were real cheap. But they didn't have digital, so unless they were, and I think any TV show with any kind of money at all would have shot on shot on film. So if those negatives still exist, it's possible they could pull HD up. Why don't I just look? I have Hulu right here.
Yeah, I was about to say also, can you look up when Frasier ran from
what was the third show that Kelsey Grammer got an Emmy for with that same character?
I want to say it was Wings. It was one of the quote-unquote must-see TV of NBC's time. He just crossed over, and they pretended it was the same world. It was a one-time thing instead of a... It was
he won an Emmy for one appearance?
Yeah, there's an Emmy for Best Cameo.
Oh, fair enough.
I mean, there's 800 Emmys. The third one maybe wasn't his crowning
thing too.
What?
They've got local Emmys too. It's kind of weird.
Local Emmys. They've got daytime Emmys. I mean, I'm not saying the third one was this huge crowning achievement, but it's an interesting bit of trivia that I'm possibly going to look up now. It's also, I don't know. TV's been really interesting.
I want to play Trivial Pursuit with you guys. That'd be a fun game.
Which version?
Not the 80s version that I grew up on. That got a little bit weird.
The version I grew up on was the original Blue Genus 4 or whatever, and it was questions about and I've come to learn a fair amount about Humphrey Bogart, but when I was growing up, I would maybe know one of his movies, but all the questions were about Humphrey Bogart and this super popular 60s television star, and I'd be I have no fucking idea what you're talking about.
All the sports questions were about 40s golfers.
Yep. UN questions. Hugh Thant was his name was Hugh Thant. He was a general secretary of the UN at one point. I know that thanks to Trivial Pursuit. But it's interesting to discuss TV like this, and and it's just gotten so disparate, and there are so many different ways of watching TV and so many different shows. I don't know that anything will be as popular, although the audience also keeps increasing.
Okay, just for anybody who is wondering, I am watching Seinfeld on Hulu now. It is in 16:9. It is not in HD.
Yeah, I think it's still pretty grainy and blurry.
Yeah, especially if you're watching those early episodes. I bet that is fugly.
They aren't even that good either. Plus, the fashions are always terrible. It was always this weird throwback. I mean, it's 90s. You think 90s and you sort of think Seinfeld because it had that weird fashion look. I don't know if it defined it. Not that it was fashionable, but it's sort of the stereotype that stuck.
I like trying to pick out the things from the current fashion that's going to be looked at really weird, like mullets in the 80s. I think that whole look where the girls are shaving just one side of their head is going to be part of that. Especially 10 years from now, you're going to see people, anytime they do a period piece, every girl's going to have that haircut.
Yeah. I think
what is the 2000s fashion? What would you say that is?
Flannel. No, that was more 90s.
No, that was 90s. That was grunge. That was grunge.
Yeah, that was more 90s.
I remember one year, I think it's probably in the early 2010s, but I remember one year where I just saw so many women wearing houndstooth pattern stuff. Like, who decided that the houndstooth pattern was the thing to wear? I think it's a fine pattern, but like, I felt like this weird trend all of a sudden where it's just like 1 week I was just like, so many people in houndstooth. What?
Haven't you seen The Devil Wears Prada? Or read The Devil Wears Prada?
No, I haven't seen The Devil Wears Prada.
It's actually one of the few really fascinating moments. Well, it's got Meryl Streep and I think Anne Hathaway, right?
I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying I haven't seen it.
I'm trying not to. I'm going to be made fun of on Twitter for this. It's not a bad movie. But
I was going to say, I've heard good things about it. I'm not going to mock you,
Yeah.
Joe. We're fine.
Well, we don't mock each other, but we have each other's backs when certain actors act weird and we make fun of them. Like unless the Gilmore Girls was brought up. But, if, say, the person who played Kingpin was writing weird tweets and we thought it was silly, we would have each other's back. However, in The Devil Wears Prada, she mentions how silly, I think Hathaway's like making jokes about fashion or something, and Meryl Streep gives this really good speech about there is like a core of high-end fashion designers who they don't necessarily pick like, oh, this spring it's Robin's egg blue is the big color, but basically they pick that, that spring Robin's egg blue will be that color. They're sort of the trendsetters, and it's not like they're doing it on purpose, but they'll.
Well, that's whatever they find cool at the time, right?
Yes.
I mean, I would assume they're not I'm going to manipulate everyone to buy
Yes.
Robin's egg blue. They're like, man, I'm really feeling this Robin's egg blue right now. What?
Yes. But then it even spreads out, and her point is that it keeps spreading out, and like Anne Hathaway sort of doesn't dress nice, and she's like, oh, I shop at the Gap, I'm just here for the job or whatever. I haven't seen the movie in like 10 years, so I'm probably way off on a lot of this. But Meryl Streep makes the point that like the Gap shoppers, and designers, they go out and they look for like what the fashion artists in France are doing, who have looked at what the fashion artists blah, blah, blah. And like it traces back to like a certain number of trend centers and why fashion isn't as, you can't ever really be outside of fashion. And I don't know, it was a really good speech. I'm clearly not delivering it well as I give half words and half sentences, but I distinctly remember that being like, wow, that was a really good speech. Meryl Streep's a great actress.
What?
Yeah.
No.
Uh-huh.
I can't let that slide, Joe. I mean, it's fine that you watched the movie, but you can't say Meryl Streep's a good actress.
So
That was a
Frasier
joke that didn't even work. That was so untrue. That didn't even work as a joke.
Yeah, no,
even sarcastically, I couldn't make that sound real. But the universe rebelled in my mind. It was like, no, what are you saying? I'm sorry. I apologize.
I'm looking up like 2000s fashion. It's like some of it's like FUBU and Echo, like some of the skatewear. Some of it's rhinestones.
Yes.
A lot of it is like the Tom Hardy style shirts, like with the old school tattoo look.
Oh, God.
One of my favorite
Hardy
fashion trends that I'm really glad to see coming back is women wearing chokers. I don't know why. It's amazing. I like it a lot. Halter tops, things like that.
I would say though that media tends to during the looking back, I think that prominent movies and TV, and then what'll happen is the first movie to like be successful and become like sort of an iconic movie about the aughts, that'll start to define our memory of what fashion was like. Because we have all these notions of like, if you watch The Americans, I think I've talked about this, they're like nail the 70s in my head anyway.
Kind of like Stranger Things right now.
Yeah, but it's not like everything was like that. It's just they're doing that for a show.
I don't even feel like Stranger Things doesn't do a big fashion thing. I mean, it's not. I guess there's a little bit of 80s hair in there. Stranger Things is more about cultural.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I moved a bit off of fashion into the look of the era.
I should find these
completely. I don't know. You just jumped.
There is, by the way,
arguably
there is a defining movie about the 2000s.
What would that be?
I don't think that Up.
Nope, it was nominated for 6 Academy Awards.
All right, you bastard.
Avatar
2001.
Space Odyssey. Yes, that's it.
Just because the title has the word 2000 in it. Okay, hang on. Can I get a
give us a hint? Trivial Pursuit style.
Yeah, I need a hint of some sort. There's a decade worth of movies.
I'm trying to think of something that'll. I actually haven't seen this movie, so I can't.
Give us an actor. Give us a director. Or just tell us, damn it.
Is it the guy?
Ethan Hawke.
Gattaca?
Reality Bites?
No.
I keep naming off movies that are set in the future. It's not helping.
Arquette. It's Boyhood.
What?
Boyhood.
That didn't define the thousands.
Well, it was filmed from 2000 to 2013.
That's not what I said.
I said it was a movie that would become popular and iconic for the times. Just because a movie is set in the 2000s doesn't mean it starts to define the era.
It was filmed in the 2000s.
Who cares? Lots of movies were filmed in the 2000s. Every movie
Throughout
in the 2000s was filmed in the
Like,
2000s.
I've
There's
heard
10
people
years of movies that were filmed in the 2000s.
They talk about how people who grew up in there was like, oh, I remember that. I remember being at like the Harry Potter like book releases and the like different things as it was happening.
Okay, but that's just a list of events that also happened in the 2000s. Like, that's not what I'm saying happens.
All right, okay, so now it's not about culture anymore.
No, it is about culture, but no one cares
the...
about the movie Boyhood. It was boring and no one liked it, so no one's going to be like, that was the iconic.
Except for all of the Academy voters and...
Yeah, who cares? Okay. That's not what I'm talking about.
And the people who paid $44.5 million to see it.
No one said that's not true. They were just in it for the gimmick.
Box office poll of $44.5 million on a budget of $4 million. That's pretty successful, monetarily speaking.
Monetarily speaking. Again, no one I know is like, man, Boyhood captured. Of course it captured it. They were just filming it. You could go look at newspapers and do the same thing. That's not what I'm talking about. That didn't define...
Yeah, it's not the retroactive movie made for that generation. Yeah. Like, you could go back and say that Clueless covered 90s fashion really well, but that was actually made to be fashionable in that time period.
Tony gets it.
Wait, what?
We're talking about a movie that's made like 10, 15 years after that looks back and picks out the fashion trends and makes them more apparent.
Clueless was made in 95!
Yeah,
it's
that's what I'm saying.
literally in the middle of the 90s!
That's exactly what I'm saying. I was saying, like, it is fashionable for the time, but it's not the type of movie we're talking about.
So Clueless doesn't define the fashion of the 90s?
Not really. The only way it could is that it was fashionable at the time because they had a high focus on that.
That's true. If you look at the movie, you're not like, wow, that's 90s wear.
Yeah.
She's wearing like a couch.
Who are you wearing, Ethan Allen?
The movie that defined the 90s is Reality Bites.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know about
that. Was the one in college. College students also matter a lot. The movie they rally around that's like, that's so us.
Like Rushmore.
It doesn't have to come out too much after. It could work.
I need to find
this all Joe's friends that rejected Boyhood, all of his 30-year-old friends that aren't in college anymore, they still get to decide.
Do you see people? I've never seen anyone mention that movie outside of you right now.
Okay. Well, there's this movie called Boyhood. Richard Linklater directed it. It took like 10 years.
Yeah. It's also just a stupid gimmick. Everyone I heard saw it was like, that was really interesting, but good God, that was not interesting.
I need to find some of my old-fashioned pictures from the early 90s because I was the kid that had like the 4 lines shaved into his head like Vanilla Ice style.
God almighty, really?
Yeah.
I can't even with hair.
Like, it's pretty odd. Like, I think I showed Al my driver's license whenever he was out here, and that has me with hair.
Well, the scary thing is when you're coming up, and maybe even after you've come up, like, you don't really know what looks good. Like, you see somebody else wear something, and you think, that looks cool, and it does look cool on them. You'll like that person, and you'll think they're doing something, and you'll try it, and it's just... like, it's not right.
Well, a lot of people also cling to the hairstyle that they had whenever they started getting laid. Like, you look at Donald Trump from, like, what was it, the 70s, whenever he was in his 20s or whatever. Like, and the haircut actually makes sense, and he's, like, sort of a handsome guy. And it's like, yeah, that's what he thinks he still looks like.
Oh, that's great. Also, I need to change my hairstyle.
I don't think there's anything wrong with your hairstyle, but you don't appear to be going for anything. Like, I think if you try to, like, I'm gonna have this look, like this identifiable.
Well, that's just trait. A mistake. Never do that unless you actually know what you're doing.
Yeah, I guess maybe that's it. But how do you know when you know what you're doing?
Other people come to you for advice, and you get jobs in fashion, and you're successful in fashion, and you're an icon.
Okay, fair enough.
The only haircut I've ever had that I liked is my current haircut, and when I had a mohawk. I miss those days.
I guess the real tricky thing is you'll see somebody do something that's somewhat idiosyncratic, right? Like they're wearing like sort of a nerdy, like with thick rimmed glasses, or back in the day on The Voice when one of the judges had that feather, and you're like, that's different and interesting. I've never seen somebody either wear that or look good wearing that. I'll do it, but then like you're just doing what they're doing. Like they were blazing a trail, and you're just sort of imitating a thing.
Yes. Don't wear a feather.
That'll put a feather in your cap.
Never think about dressing myself in the manner that you're discussing right now, so it's hard for me to relate.
Oh, okay.
I'm always aware that, like, well, I probably couldn't pull that off.
Well, men's fashion is way easier.
I'm gonna be
anyway.
real specific. This is me, like, laying myself bare. I got relatively thick-rimmed glasses because I thought that Ira Glass looked cool with them on the This American Life TV show. With his giant thick glasses.
Boom. How did that go for you?
I don't think it worked.
I got thick glasses for that same reason, and I'm afraid to get LASIK because I feel like glasses are kind of part of my style at this point.
Was Ira Glass
you got glasses because you thought Ira Glass looked cool with glasses on?
No, I got like the thick rimmed glasses because it's part of nerd culture now.
Oh, okay.
Possibly because of Ira Glass.
Probably.
Like where did that start? But he probably got them from.
And it's like a throwback.
I think
to the
Ira
50s
Glass is
when
just an
everybody
old
made fun of
middle-aged dude, or not old. He's a middle-aged dude who just like has glasses and doesn't really care.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. Sometimes people just do what they're doing and they just happen to nail it. Yeah, there's. I mean, we're discussing the nature of fashion, which is fascinating, but really difficult to lock down because of
we're like
all
the
things
three
we've
least
discussed.
qualified guys to be having this discussion for more than like 3 minutes.
There's also that.
Actually, Joe seems to have decent fashion sense, and men's fashion.
Because I don't think about it. I'm just like, all right, someone else do this for me, and I just completely nullify any opinions I have and just ask.
This sounds like the longest lead-in to a Trunk Club commercial I've ever heard.
If only we had Trunk Club.
Why are we not sponsored by Trunk Club? We'd be like, and that's why.
Well, no. So if you need fashionable socks every month, boy, do we have the program for you.
There are no ads on the bonus podcast.
No, there are
Sock
not.
of the Month Club? We never did that, did we?
No, there are already. They do that already.
Oh, is that what
Remember we looked it
when
up
did that
on
come up?
the
Was
Dirt
that an
Block.
early bonus podcast?
I
Dirt
think
Block,
so.
Dirt Block.
Oh yeah,
Was it early Dirt Block?
Mm-hmm.
I also want to say two things. One, it's also interesting how with fashion we start to just kind of quash together numerous years into like, oh, that's the 90s. Like when there's a movie where I want to say it's Christopher Reeve goes back in time. No, it's not Superman. And like he's going back in time, but he knows ahead of time that he's doing it, so he tries to prepare and gets like old-timey outfits as like the 1890s or something. And he's like, oh yeah, perfect, 1800s clothes, late 1800s. And when he gets back there, people are like, what the hell are you wearing? That's like 3 years out of date. And he's like, there's 3 years different. Like when you're in it, it's like a very year-to-year thing, especially if you know what's happening. For us, maybe not so much, but you would still 5 years ago, if someone was sporting like a super popular look from 5 years ago, you'd probably still be like, that was the last time I saw that. You'd be like, oh, 2009 call. They want their CeeLo green suit made out of grass back. But
they want their Lady Gaga
too.
meat suit back.
Yeah, they're condensing. We condense things that maybe were spread out over an entire decade into the 70s look, like in the Americans. Not everyone actually wore that, or everything wasn't earth tones and puke green, but it just sort of gets condensed, which I find interesting. Also,
if he went back in time, he should have told himself to stay away from horses.
He went way too far back, and that's a terrible joke.
Yeah, what? Ha 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 ha. Good joke to make on our ostensibly comedy podcast, Tony. Christopher Reeve died.
Yes, he did.
He was paralyzed
Before he
first.
died, he was in a wheelchair for a long time. Isn't that hilarious?
I would
It's
say
just
no,
sad.
actually, because he became a huge focal point for stem cell research and.
Yeah, I remember those South Park episodes where he's cracking the fetuses open and sucking the marrow out.
Yes.
Those were
He's going
great.
after Hackman. Hackman!
Yeah.
But yeah, South Park did it, so we shouldn't.
Like the South
Also,
Park kids are
Frasier's really
just like,
smart.
I'm not even touching this, and they just walk off screen.
Was that the one?
Yeah.
I thought that was the smoking they totally get involved in. All right, this is not the South Park block.
Fair enough.
Frasier is smart. Looking back, I think it's funnier than a lot of the shows that I loved, even though I watched it far less. There's all kinds of clever things they do. They have like the title cards that are often plays on words with things that are happening. They did entirely, not silent, but dialogue-free episodes. They did. There's just a lot of really smart stuff that went around there and a lot of creative
Really?
stuff. Mm-hmm.
A dialogue-free episode?
Yeah, it's
pretty ballsy for
yeah.
like mainstream TV.
What was the premise? I mean, other than I understand the premise is there's no dialogue, but like
It was Niles trying to prepare. I think it might have been like a Valentine's Day episode or something, and he was preparing dinner for I don't know, his date or whatever, and it's just him running around the kitchen, and everything slowly starts to spiral out of control. One of the things they did really well was slowly build on things until by the end it's complete chaos.
oh, so it's like not only was there no dialogue, it was like a one-man show kind of a thing.
I think so.
That's awesome.
It's a lot
Yeah.
easier to do no dialogue when it's one man, so that's cool.
Yep.
Well, yeah, I guess that's true. I was thinking, like, if you had other characters pop in, like, somebody would be like, and you'd have to, if there was a reason why they weren't talking, you'd have to be like, no.
Yeah. Yeah, true. You have to have some reason. It's been a while since I've seen it, so I might have the premise slightly wrong, but I do remember Niles running around after a certain point being like, he hasn't spoken yet. That's really interesting. Tons of wordplay, tons of, I don't know, the whole thing was clever front to back, and the more I look back at it, the more I'm like, that was a damn good show. And that's Frasier. Just wanted to close out Frasier, because we are sort of clocking along here.
What is Archimboldo? Like
Archimboldo?
Yeah, it's on the list, and it's just up there, and it looks like it's going to get forgotten if we don't talk about it soon.
Well, so that was one of mine. I put that on there. We could talk about it in a relatively short amount of time, I guess.
Okay, if you want to save it for a longer discussion, that's fine.
No, he's one of those guys who, I get fascinated by things that get forgotten. Not literally forgotten. I mean, you can Google him. People know who he is sort of in art circles, but he did some really fascinating paintings where all the subjects were all composed of different things. Like there was like a guy made out of all fish, like just sort of different fish layered together into a face.
You and fish.
What?
I said you and fish.
Well, there's a fruit one. There's one where like it's a bunch of plants. There's a whole like
I've
tree
seen this guy, Giuseppe Archimboldo. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's sort of, it weirds me out a little bit that somebody that interesting and that creative has kind of been swept under the rug and forgotten. Like, especially because he was so far ahead of his time. He was doing surrealist stuff before surrealism was a thing. And
1593. Holy cow. That's way. Yeah. I saw the art and then I looked at the date. And yeah, okay, yes, he was way ahead of his time.
And it just interests me when I find somebody like that, so who's, again, not forgotten. Like, we know who he is. Art historians will talk about him, but sort of he's not like part of the public consciousness.
He wasn't credited with some other people. Time.
Yeah, and I don't know, was it because he was so far ahead of his time? What kind of person? Because he inspired people like Salvador Dali, as recently as the 20th century, and that is, I mean, he's obviously somebody who's a big part of the, you can say Salvador Dali, people know who that is. By and large, I mean, there's always going to be some level of ignorance, but way higher up on the list. And it interests me that you'll have somebody kind of pave the way artistically for something to happen. And then, we talked about tastemakers earlier. You'll have, they won't make the taste, but they'll, like, some other tastemaker will find their work and be like, oh, wow, people didn't realize it at the time, but this guy was amazing. And then sort of turn what was amazing about him into their own style.
Yeah, I'm looking up other 1500s paintings, and it's like all Mona Lisa style stuff. Like there's
and he didn't break the mold that much. These are all portraits.
They're all portraits. Yeah, you're right, Joe.
He did some other stuff, okay, but he didn't like go that far out of bounds. I don't know. They're also not. They're clever, but for me, they're just. I'm kind of like, these are just kind of. Yeah.
I think I've seen him most on puzzles. Like, I've seen a lot of those.
I love the fire guy. I love the bowl of fruit that just looks like a regular bowl of fruit, and then when you turn it upside down, it's a face with a hat on.
Where is that? I'm not seeing that in the Wikipedia page. That sounds way more interesting than stuff on the Wikipedia page. I mean, he's in the Louvre.
There's a lot of stuff in the Louvre.
Yeah, it's a big building.
It takes like 3 days to walk
my stuff
through
is
the
in the
Louvre.
Louvre.
Probably Banksy stuff is.
Well, is it?
There was a time when he had I don't know if it was the Louvre. He busted into an art museum and hung a work of art on the wall. Just sort of noticed. Yeah. But anyway, that was it. Yeah, I mean, yes, he was still working within his time, and I'm sure there were more innovations to come later. But it was still, I think, fascinating and really groundbreaking for what it was at the time. And when you pave the way for somebody else, it's like when a fashion designer finds some old clothes, not literally old clothes, but they'll go shopping at like a thrift store or whatever and say, okay, what can I use? What elements here can I use? Can I recreate something that was popular back in the day and sort of remix it into something? And finding things that got swept under the rug and reusing it. I guess I'm just fascinated with stuff that has been forgotten, possibly unjustly.
Well, it's possible. It's also pretty repetitive. He might have had someone being like, "Look,
you could break out, pretty big if you did, something that looks, I don't know, he might have been getting advice and just been very stoic, like no, I'm going to do portraits. You never know. He could have been getting a lot of like, this king wants you to do this. If you just, I don't know, did a landscape made out of figs or something, and he was like, no, I like portraits. Maybe he just had more notoriety, not notoriety is the wrong word, more fame in his hands and just was like, no, I'm just going to do this. Maybe during his time he was incredibly accredited, but again, over time, I just feel like it's, well, again, I'm just looking at the Wikipedia page. It's pretty repetitive.
There are a lot of portraits.
There's a lot of poultry.
Birds.
Also, you know what? Surrealism back then, he only had fruit and wood to work with. he's got one with buckets.
Do an image search, okay? So get off the Wikipedia page. You got the one where he's like making people out of eels.
Again, food and buckets.
There's a face made out of like entire human forms here.
Where? Fish, fire, spring. Okay, fire.
It's a face made out of human bodies.
I'm seeing paintings for, these are the categories he's under. He was really hung up on the seasons. All I'm saying is wood, fruit, and
there's a lot of fruit. Okay, there's a lot of fruit.
I think maybe he turned himself into a sort of a one-trick pony and got sort of ignored. That would be partially my guess. Just looking at I'm sure people are just like, Jesus Christ, another freaking fruit. Yeah, we get it. You can make faces out of fruit. Ooh, this one's fish. That's not that big of a change. And he was just like, I really like doing this. I don't know. Maybe if
Thank you for spitting on my hero, Joe.
Maybe if you're wondering why he gets swept under the rug. I'm positing possible reasons. He was a very accomplished and great artist, but in order to sometimes become much more mainstream, you have to branch out.
Fair enough. It's good advice.
Yes.
Had a lot of fun, gave some good advice. It's been a good time.
What's going on?
He's trying to end the
our
episode.
Members, we're going long now.
Also the librarian. I love the librarian. That's the guy made out of books. Yes, I know. There's another person made out of other things. That was the shtick. That is what I like about him.
Thank you very much for being members. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the bonus podcast. We will see you it's 2 weeks out for the next one. We've got Extra Life coming up. We got a lot of different stuff, and we're going to need your guys' help to keep our sanity during that 24-hour stream. There's just a lot going on next couple weeks.
We do.
There will be, by the way, a live, more or less bonus podcast sent out to everybody in that Extra Life stream. So look forward to that.
Yeah, it sounds like we're going to be joined by at least Kevin of the Comic Noobs. Maybe some other people. We'll figure out what's going on. If we get more than 4, it's probably going to be chaotic.
Not for the bonus podcast, though.
Yeah,
it'll just be us.
Yeah,
Kevin can't be on the bonus podcast.
Possibly a new. Yes, I agree. I'm trying to figure out if we're going to have another one. We will have one more bonus podcast out before Extra Life. And then Saturday, we'll have an hour of bonus podcast in there somewhere. We're going to do a new Sims family. We're going to say goodbye to the Chos and bring out a new Sims family. What else are we doing? Playing some games. I don't know.
Lots of games. Minecraft. There's going to be about 6 hours of mush if you're really wanting to see us in a bad way.
Once Al hands stuff over to Tony and I at midnight, it just becomes a blur. Fun blur, but a blur. Really excited about that, actually.
Anyway, you guys have a good week.
Bye.
Bye.